At just 15, Tyra Banks was walking the runways of Paris. But truth is, she was never supposed to be there. In America, she was told she was too dark-skinned to ever make it. This young girl, who used to avoid cameras, was about to take on the heart of fashion and turn it upside down. Tyra Banks' story isn't just about walking runways. It's about surviving, fighting, and learning to see her own worth, no matter what the world said. At 15, Tyra Banks was far from being a queen of the catwalk. She couldn't even look at herself in the mirror because she didn't like what she saw. She was ashamed of her skin, her strong features. In America, fashion didn't want someone who looked like her. She had a pretty normal childhood in California. There was love in her family, but outside, it was a battlefield. At school, she was bullied and mocked. They called her names like chocolate cake, and not in a sweet way. But her mother, Carolyn Banks, saw what others didn't. She knew her daughter had something special. She signed her up for beauty contests and modeling agencies. Tyra started to grow, not by hiding who she was, but by challenging what the world expected of her. In 1989, just 15 years old, she went to modeling agencies in New York, but all she got were rejections. 6 feet tall, sharp features, dark skin. You don't fit our brand. Every door slammed in her face. But her mother didn't give up. "We're not quitting," she said. So they packed their bags and flew to Paris. Paris, 1990, the heart of the fashion world, and the place where this too dark, too different girl would finally be seen. She booked 25 shows in her very first season, a record, but behind every step there was a silent war. Tyra Banks' story isn't just about modeling. It's the journey of a girl who was pushed aside and chose to fight her way into the spotlight. And that fight was only just beginning. Paris, 1990. The City of Lights was about to discover a girl who had been deemed too dark for America. Tyra walked into casting rooms with nothing but her mother's belief and a few photos in hand. Rejected in the U.S. for being too different, she was seen in Paris as something else entirely, new and bold. The first casting. Tyra was expecting the same cold stares and the usual "thank you" dismissal. Instead, the casting director looked at her in awe. "Where have you been hiding in America?" Tyra wanted to smile, but thought to herself, getting rejected. That day changed everything. In her first season, she walked in 25 shows, an unheard-of number for a debut season in Paris. Chanel, Dior, Yves Saint Laurent. Designers were falling in love with this American girl, with her angular features and powerful walk. But behind the runways, another story was unfolding. There was already a rising black supermodel in the fashion world, Naomi Campbell, and the industry seemed to think there was room for only one black star. Whispers began. Rumor had it Naomi made dismissive remarks, calling Tyra an American knockoff. At a Chanel fitting, people claimed to hear someone scoff while eyeing Tyra head to toe. "They're making everyone a model these days." The press caught on quickly. Catfight on the catwalk. Black model showdown. Each runway turned into a silent competition. Who would get the louder applause? For Tyra, this wasn't just professional rivalry. The girl who had once been bullied in school was now being iced out on the runway by someone who should have been her ally. But she didn't back down. That tension only made her push harder. And in 1997, when she walked the Victoria's Secret runway wearing angel wings, she was no longer the girl who got turned away for being too ethnic. She had become the queen of the runway. When Tyra Banks stepped onto the Victoria's Secret runway, she was dripping in diamonds and emeralds worth millions. The angel wings, the most prestigious crown in fashion. This wasn't just another lingerie show, it was a message. You're the best. Tyra was everywhere. Magazine covers, billboards, TV commercials. She was the first Black woman to grace the covers of GQ and Sports Illustrated swimsuit. But there was a truth those glossy pages never showed. Behind the scenes, Tyra was crying silently in the bathroom between shows. She was having panic attacks before castings, still living under the pressure of lose just a few more pounds during a Victoria's Secret fitting. A producer once told her, "You'd look amazing if you dropped a few pounds." Tyra smiled, but when she looked in the mirror, that smile vanished. She felt like that high school girl again, and yet she kept going. Because Tyra had a new goal in mind. She didn't just want to wear the clothes anymore. She wanted to decide who gets to wear them. She wanted to create a platform for the girls like her, too short, too tall, too dark. That idea would take her from runways to television studios and launch the most controversial chapter of her entire career. Late 2002, Tyra Banks sat alone in a New York hotel room, surrounded by runway bags. To the world, she was still one of the most in-demand supermodels on Earth. But when she looked in the mirror, she saw something else. Exhaustion. I made it. But is this my whole life? That moment sparked a decision that would change her future. She didn't just want to be a product of the fashion industry anymore. She wanted to be the one making the rules. Tyra had a clear vision in mind, a television show. But not just any fashion show. She dreamed of a platform where girls from all over the country, too fat, too short, too dark, could finally have a shot. When she pitched the idea to TV executives, the response was almost always the same. Nice idea, but we don't think a model can be a producer. To them, Tyra was a pretty face for the cover, not a mind behind the scenes. But one network, UPN, took a chance. Small budget, minimal promotion, and just like that, America's next top model was born. The first season aired in the summer of 2003. For the first time, viewers saw what really happened behind the runway curtain. A girl from a shopping mall could, in a few weeks, look ready for a magazine cover. And Tyra was there to say, "I was just like you. They didn't give me a shot, but I'll give you one." The show exploded, ratings soared. On forums and blogs, the social media of the time, people couldn't stop talking about it. Tyra wasn't just a model anymore. She was the queen of a television empire. But the truth behind the scenes was more complicated, because on her show, beauty wasn't just about courage or originality. It was also about control, standards, and sometimes pain. Tyra opened up to viewers through raw confessions and even tears. She shared her struggles, weight gain and loss, bullying, rejection, and that vulnerability made her powerful, but also made her a target for criticism. Her daytime talk show, The Tyra Banks Show, won multiple Emmys. She had become more than a model. She was now a force in television. Over time, though, Tyra's leadership style, especially on ANTM, sparked controversy. What started as a dream platform for everyday girls often pushed contestants through extreme physical and emotional tests. Her high expectations and harsh feedback became a topic of heated debate. Still, Tyra's core vision never wavered. Fashion wasn't just about how you looked. It was a form of expression, a source of power. And now that power was in her hands. March 2020, the month the world stood still. Streets were empty. People were baking sourdough and turning Netflix binges into a competitive sport. But some took a different route. They opened dusty DVD boxes or dove into the depths of YouTube, and there they found a long-forgotten treasure, or curse, old episodes of America's Next Top Model. At first, it was harmless nostalgia. The overplucked eyebrows, the bizarre runway challenges. We laughed. Wow, the 2000s were weird. And then, the scene started rolling in. Tyra, staring at a contestant, saying, "You think you can be a cover girl with that gap in your teeth?" Not once, but 3 times. The camera zoomed in. The studio was silent. No one said anything back then. But in 2020, social media did. Loudly. More clips resurfaced. White models in blackface. Black models with lightened skin. Asian contestants dressed and painted to portray other ethnicities. What was once labeled creative concept now looked like blatant racial caricature. And then came the most infamous clip. Tyra shouting at a contestant during judging. "We were all rooting for you. How dare you?" The girl was being scolded for not crying. Social media quickly gave it a name: emotional performance policing. These scenes exploded across TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, millions of shares. Headlines followed: Tyra Banks trauma reel, the madness we called normal in the 2000s. Empathy? Never heard of her. And then the former contestants began to speak. Some shared stories of psychological pressure, humiliation, emotional breakdowns. One winner said her crown was taken away after rumors of escort work. Others claimed they were eliminated for refusing to pose nude. Tyra's long-standing image as the big sister, gone in a matter of weeks, burned in the firestorm of social media reckoning. Because in 2020, the only trend that mattered was accountability. Today, Tyra Banks is 50 years old. Far from the fashion runways, yet still living under the spotlight like a pro. She splits her time between Los Angeles and Australia. By her side is businessman Louis Bélanger Martin, joint ventures, family, and a life that seems quiet, but could shift at any moment. In 2016, she welcomed her son York. Motherhood marked a turning point as big as her career. Her ice cream brand, Smize Cream, is still active. Because for Tyra, being in front of the camera is just as vital as selling something. It's a way of life. But when it comes to her legacy, things get complicated. On one hand, she's the first Black woman to grace the cover of GQ and Sports Illustrated, one of the first Black models to become a Victoria's Secret angel, one of the highest-paid models in the world, Emmy Awards, Time 100 list. The numbers and accolades make her place in fashion history undeniable. On the other hand, those scenes still circulating online, the stories told by former contestants, the social media storm of 2020 when everyone wanted answers. Some call her a revolutionary. Others accuse her of becoming part of the very system she once tried to break. And maybe that's the real irony in Tyra Banks' story. The girl who was once turned away for being too dark-skinned in America ended up being the one who opened the door. But as she made her own rules inside, some of the girls she left outside came knocking years later, demanding accountability. So what was Tyra Banks, really? A victim or a bully? A hero or just a brilliant strategist? Whatever the answer may be, one thing is certain. Her story remains one of fashion's brightest runways, and one of its harshest reckonings.